Hello and welcome to Miniature Adventures. I'm Bigger Lee, and this week I want to ask, what is the point of demo games? This is entirely a personal perspective. So as many of you all know, I've missed a couple of shows recently due to ill health, and so I've been trying to enjoy those shows through the eyes of other people who were able to attend. This could either be seen as torturing myself or vicariously enjoying the event through others. I prefer to think of it as the latter. And I've made similar videos and blog posts myself over the years after shows, and they have, I hope, been enjoyed by those that couldn't attend, just like I haven't been able to attend the recent ones. And it seems to be a much enjoyed staple of the blogging/vlogging scene in our hobby, as we share the best, most inspiring tables that shows have to offer. And so I return again unapologetically to one of my pet peeves: demo games where the level of engagement by those either running the game or the absence of table signage and other information about the game or the club running it lets the side down a little bit. All of which begs perhaps the bigger question: what is the point of demo games? Now, I originally did a post about this back in 2009 on my blog, talking about demo games at shows, and in particular the lack of information for visitors. And I also discussed the occasional lack of interaction between the exhibitors and show attendees. Since then, I've had the pleasure of contributing to games myself at shows in conjunction with the group that I'm associated with, Postage Rejects. And looking back at the original article from 2009, I'm glad to say that the quality of information and interaction at shows seems to have improved immensely over the last 14 years. Now, on the whole, demo games at shows are a credit to the hobby and an inspiration to new and old wargamers alike. However, at any given show, there are still occasionally games where tables where everyone has their back to the audience and where the off-table display is either negligible or non-existent. Now, as I mentioned, over the years I have attended a lot of conventions and shows, and as any regular viewer will know, I always go with camera in hand. And as a result, I've developed a very clear opinion of what I like and don't like about demo games and the display information that goes with them. Now, of course, the game is the focal point, and we all love a well-dressed table, but I also appreciate simpler setups where the rules or the scenario is innovative or unique or just interesting. But this video isn't about the game as such, it's what's happening around it that can sometimes let the presentation down, for want of a better phrase, and it's a subject I've discussed many times. My main gripe has usually revolved around those thankfully few tables where information and interaction are virtually non-existent, and the spectator is left feeling awkward, sometimes unwanted, almost like they're interfering in the game. And as I said in my introduction, this situation has become noticeably less common over the years, but it's certainly not gone away altogether, and I have encountered it in recent shows myself. So what am I looking for in a good demo game? Well, I'm always on the lookout for demo tables that go the extra mile with information available to visitors. It's common now for groups to provide information sheets about their games, but some still don't, for various reasons. And this isn't in itself a problem if you're the sort of person for whom sparking up a conversation with the guys on the table is easy for you. But not all visitors are old grognards eager for a chat. And at some shows, a significant proportion of visitors are drop-ins, newbies, partners of gamers. And it's easy to see how they could feel intimidated by this apparent clique of wargamers huddled around a games table. Think back to your first ever show and how strange and new it all was. You probably didn't know anyone apart from maybe a few friends that you went with, and the place was full of strange sights and equally strange smells. That unfortunately hasn't changed much over the years. I guess I feel the problem a little more acutely because I do like to come away with lots of photos from a show. Trying to figure out who was on what table and what their game was, etc. can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. It's a sad fact that I still attend shows and nearly always come across a demo game that lacks any kind of identifying label or sign, and then I struggle to identify those pictures afterwards. When signs are present, I always try to take a photograph a picture as my label, as my aide-memoire for the group, the set of pictures that I've taken afterwards of the table itself. It helps captioning that photograph, so making sure that really good games get the right attribution and the right club gets the credit. Especially true for larger shows like Salute, where you might have several Napoleonic or American Civil War games being run, and trying to remember which is which after the event can be a bit tricky, especially when you're really tired. Of course, I always try to spark up a conversation with those running the game, and it's still hard to remember every conversation and every game correctly. I'm only human, we make mistakes. Getting a picture of the label cuts through all the confusion and ensures that those that run a good demo game get the credit they deserve. Now for me, the whole purpose of running a demo table is to demonstrate the hobby, the clue's in the name. And that means more than just plonking models on the table and walking away. In my experience, a significant portion of visitors attending some shows see aspects of our wonderful hobby that are not normally outside of their regular experience. Some of these visitors are brand new to the hobby. Others, such as the hordes of younglings attracted by the likes of Games Workshop, for instance, may only be involved in a niche of that hobby and maybe casting around looking for other things and other periods to play. Failure to engage with them is a lost opportunity to broaden their horizons and retain them within the hobby. It seems to me that one of the main purposes of a war game show is to act as a sort of outreach program to draw in new players. Now, it does sound a bit highfalutin and grand, but new blood coming into the hobby is a genuine concern and a regular discussion point on various forums. And you know, it's something that we should all be thinking about when we're putting on a demo game, or at least that's how I feel about it. So having pontificated about the lack of communication with visitors, I guess I ought to say what I would like to see associated with a demo game, either in a handout or signs or labels. So here's my own very personal list of the stuff I like to know about each demo game that I view. So first off, and an obvious one, the name of the club or organisation running that table. So I get the right club for the table that they've put on. And the name, of course, of the game, the battle or the title they've given it. A bit more details about the period or specific dates if applicable. A little background to the historical context is useful. Not too much, but just enough. The rule system that's being used. The scale and the manufacture of the miniatures being used is always interesting. And additional information on terrain features if the table is scratch built and who built it and so on. And last but not least, contact details for the club and details of where they meet, etc. Otherwise, what's the point if you're not going to try and attract new players? What's the point? Now, this is by no means an exhaustive list, but it does represent the sort of questions that I find myself asking over and over again and forgetting the answers over and over again, it has to be said. It would be great if each demo table could provide some sort of handout with basic details on it. But simple displays that could be photographed would be just as useful. And most tables are like that. I hasten to add, it's got much better over the years. And as I said several times, you know, it continues to get better. Unlabeled tables are very rare nowadays. Uncommunicative players huddled around them are becoming fewer and fewer, but not entirely gone. I look forward to the day when I can stop talking about this subject. So now we get to the point, to the central question of this whole subject. What is the point of demo games? Now clearly, I think it's about outreach and sharing our hobby to those people that attend shows or other types of events. And when I think of those people, I'm including non-historical wargamers who may be tempted to our corner of the hobby, role players and board gamers who maybe haven't even considered using their miniatures for something else, for a big battle for instance, and of course non-war gamers who may never have seen a game before in their lives. Take the last group for instance. Many of the shows that the Rejects have run demo games at over the years have a high proportion of non-war gamers in the audience. Broadside always seems to attract a lot of families and people who are clearly not dyed-in-the-wool historical war gamers. And early in the year we did the Rapture Gaming Festival at Chatham Dock, and that was overwhelmingly non-war gamers turning up and seeing the game that we and other clubs were participating in. Likewise, at the end of this month there's the Replay show at the Royal Engineers Museum, and again it's going to be a large proportion of non-wargamers who've just come to the museum for the day and happen to find that there's a load of war games being played amongst the exhibits. So when I'm thinking about the sort of display I want to see with a table, I'm thinking about viewers who are completely new to the hobby, as well as existing wargamers who maybe want to branch out or try something different. Not all game shows are like that, of course, and it's possible the display material would have to reflect the different potential audience mix. Salute, for instance, does get a few non-war gamers coming in at the end of the day when they open the doors to non-ticket holders, but proportionally there will be a lot more sci-fi Games Workshop type war gamers who attend that show than some of the other shows that we do, and perhaps don't normally interact with historical war games. This is our opportunity to bring them over to our side of the hobby. And I suspect shows like Partisan are almost exclusively populated by wargamers enjoying the work of other wargamers. So again, a different type of audience. So in answer to my question, the point of a demo game will depend on the audience, which will differ depending on the type of the show. I still think a good table signage and associated displays are a good idea as part of the overall presentation that you are putting on. But the sort of supporting information needed will be very much dependent on the audience. So as always, I'd like to hear what you think about this. Am I exaggerating a phenomenon that has become extremely rare? In which case, it's the last time I'll mention this, I promise. Or is this something you recognise in the occasional display game at shows? And what sort of information do you like to see displayed with a well presented table? Is there something that you think is missing from the information that I didn't list in my little list earlier on? You know, I've listed my essentials, but what about displays of reference books, artifacts, maps and other visual media? What do you like to see with a game? As always, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. So now it's time for a relatively quick hobby update. It's been another odd week for me, having had to miss Selwig last Sunday. That's the second year on the trot that I've missed them, and I'm determined I'll be doing it next year. On the plus side, I am feeling a lot better every day, and I'll be going to my first game in ages at Reject HQ today as the video goes out. I'm not sure what period or what scale Stuart is planning on running, but that's normal for our group. He'll just put out a call for players, and when we turn up, he'll tell us what it is we're playing, and we quite like it like that. Most of his house rules have a similar core mechanic or a similar feel, so it's easy to adapt no matter really what game or period is being played. Personally, I'm just thankful to be getting a game, and I'm going to enjoy it whatever happens, win, lose or draw. Whatever we end up playing, I'll try and report back a little bit on it next week. Now for a quick workbench update. I've been working on some more 6mm buildings from Leather Miniatures. I wasn't sure if they were going to arrive on time, but they turned up last Saturday and I was able to get on and start painting them really quickly. I'm trying to do a video showing how I've done them, but nothing special here, just an excuse to show off some nice buildings and a really simple paint job, because they really are a doddle to paint. I did mention last week that I was going to be working on some woods for 6mm war games, but I've been doing the buildings instead, so I'm postponing that. I wasn't entirely sure how to approach that particular project, so maybe that's my modelling work for next week. I need to everything can be improved with a little bit more thinking time. So that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed this week's discussion, and as always, please join the conversation in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, please like, subscribe and share, and if you want to keep up to date with weekly content from this channel, please tap the bell notification icon. So until next week, stay safe, keep gaming and of course keep rolling high.